Hi, everybody. Welcome to Dan on Sports. Well, talk about a Tennessee waltz in a New York minute. That's what the Tennessee Titans are getting with their new head coach, Robert Saleh, and now the offensive coordinator, Brian Daboll, the former head coach of the New York Giants, if he doesn't get the Las Vegas Raiders head coaching job. But think about this for just a moment. In your wildest dreams, just 2 years ago, when you had Saleh as the head coach of the New York Jets and Brian Daboll, the head coach of the New York Giants, rivals on the New York stage, rivals in the metropolitan market, the largest media market in the country, could you envision that they would be together 2 years later, less than really, as head coach and offensive coordinator? But that's the story. Saleh, the new head coach of the Tennessee Titans, and if he doesn't get the LV Raiders head coaching job, Brian Daboll, the new offensive coordinator. Once rivals on the New York stage, and both out to prove themselves. That's why I think this is going to be very fascinating. They are out to prove that they can do it in a second act, and I don't blame them. Saleh has revived his career, in my opinion. He went out to San Francisco from where he came. He had been coaching the 49ers as the DC, became the head coach of the Jets, and back out to San Francisco. I thought he did a fine job as the defensive coordinator for the 49ers this year. Heck, they did get to the playoffs with injuries, made it to the divisional round. So Saleh, I think, has revived his reputation somewhat, and Daboll's going to try to do the same, particularly working with a good up-and-coming quarterback in Cam Ward. Remember, John Harbaugh considered Tennessee for a time as the next head coach because he was enthralled with Cam Ward. He looked at film of both Cam Ward and Jackson Dart. In the end, opted for the Giants. But there was a point where Harbaugh was seriously considering that Tennessee job because of Cam Ward. So Daboll, who knows what it's like to work with young quarterbacks, he worked with Josh Allen and did a very good job with Josh Allen. And he also was the one who recommended that the Giants draft Jackson Dart. So this is an interesting combination. You got to remember a couple of things. These are not fly-by-night coaches here. Both coaches do have extensive backgrounds as coaches and, in both cases, as head coaches. Saleh with the Jets and Daboll with the Giants, again on the largest media stage. Sometimes a second act works. Now, I know there are critics of Saleh who are saying, look he's a very good coordinator, but not all good coordinators make good head coaches. True. But particularly Saleh is young enough, as is Daboll. Saleh is young enough to try and make the second act work. You don't think he's learned from his mistakes? And he might not admit it publicly, but you all make mistakes as a head coach, particularly in the first job. And in Saleh's case, he was on the largest stage, the New York media. So you'd have to think that he's learned from his mistakes the first go-around as a head coach and won't make them the second time as a head coach with the Tennessee Titans. I don't think this is a bad move by Tennessee at all. Not in the least, in fact. So think about it. You've got, in a sense, opposites. Saleh is a personable individual, always likes to be liked. He gets along, has a good rapport with the media, unless you get under his skin, which makes him no different than any other coach. Daboll can be good with the media. He won't have to deal with the media as much because he's going to be the offensive coordinator, not the head coach. So he can get along with the media, and unless you get under his skin, but I don't think that'll be an issue because he's the offensive coordinator. So it's an interesting combination. Saleh and Daboll, once rivals on the New York stage, now together in Tennessee. The media scrutiny is not going to be as big in Tennessee as it was in New York for these guys. Not going to be as intense, except I will add this. You know the New York media is going to be down there covering Tennessee. Might not be every game, but expect the New York media to be following the Tennessee Titans closely. You can almost say New York has three teams now, the Giants, Jets, and the Titans. Hey, there used to be the New York Titans, who then became the Jets. I digress. Fact of the matter is, Tennessee's going to be followed closely by the New York media because Saleh's the head coach and Daboll is the offensive coordinator if he doesn't get the LV Raiders job. I think it's going to be fun to watch. That's what I'm going to think. And, hey, I don't fault the Tennessee Titans for making this move. I think, in fact, it's a good move. Why not take a chance? Why not a second opportunity for Saleh and Daboll as an offensive coordinator, where he has a good reputation? It just might work. My point being, this is not as far-fetched a combination as some might think it is. That's going to do it for Dan on Sports. As always, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Be sure to subscribe to my newsletter, danonsports.com. See you later.